rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Time to make the donuts. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is now 8 o'clock a.m. You are listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. It's Friday. It's rainy, but as we just kind of kicked around here in the studio, it's warm in our hearts. It is warm in our hearts. Although the day may be rainy, as long as your mood and disposition is healthy and you're putting something good out there in the world, you may feel a lot better. It could be nice and sunny inside of your soul. We got a good show for you guys today and a great conversation. Our guest today is Mr. Ricky Rodgers of the African American Men in Unity, and I'm very happy to have this discussion because I'll give you a little quick anecdotal story. I was always seeing the flyers for the African American Men in Unity around. I'm always seeing the flyer. I'm like, yo, what? African American men, okay. I'm always seeing the flyer, checking the flyers out and everything, and then I think it was, I don't know when it was, where I actually started to read up a little bit more and stuff, and then I saw Mr. Rodgers once upon a time. We didn't get the chance to meet, but now I see him every single day, just about. Now we can't get away from each other. Mr. Rodgers, how you feeling this morning?
Hey, I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm fulfilling my divine purpose. And, it's just a beautiful thing right now for us as an agency, as an organization.
Good. Glad to have you on the show today. We got breaking news to start off with, but before I get into that, Gabriel Bradford, how you feeling, baby?
I'm feeling great. We're excited on this, it's a little rainy day, but, it's, like Curtis said, it's warm in our hearts.
Right.
So, just having a good day. It's the weekends.
That's
so
right.
I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Gloria Gerardo, good morning to you. Cindy Morales, good morning. Jennifer Ryan Maton, good morning. William Miller III, good morning. Shannon Eliz, good morning. And Gabriel Bradford's in the chat, but he's also here with us. So we got a double up. Here's the news today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to announce this. The Illinois Department of Human Services announces $5 million in additional funding to expand emergency shelter capacity. Now, this is, before I read you the details from this hot off the press, let me tell you something. I got this press release 3 minutes ago. This is hot off the presses, y'all. How hot, Curtis? Sizzling. But as the colder months approach, the demand for shelter is growing, and many shelter providers are already approaching maximum capacity. The increased demand could create difficulties for shelters, putting some of the most vulnerable Illinois residents at risk. To address this concern, the IDHS, the Illinois Department of Human Services, announced today an additional $5 million is being invested to support the expansion of access to emergency shelters during the winter months. Now it continues. South Suburban PADS, DuPage County PADS, Hesed House, and Housing Action Illinois have been advocating over the last few months for emergency funding to help shelters have resources to meet the greater than ever demand for overnight shelter this winter. Wait lists for shelters locally are as long as 90 to 100. That's people. Shelters across the state are at capacity. There are nearly 5,000 people sleeping on the streets across Illinois. 5,000 people. The funding will be distributed across shelter providers across the state and save the lives of our most vulnerable neighbors this winter. If you know somebody who is in danger of being out in inclement weather, please let them know about this. Please contact housing providers in our area. Hesed House and Two Rivers Head Start are two great places. Two Rivers Head Start is not a shelter. But what they are able to do is provide some limited funds to help people get through tough times, like behind on rent or perhaps paying a first rent or security deposit. So that's good information to have. Okay. Now, you were mentioning, Mr. Rodgers, that you're from Missouri originally?
Yes, Charleston, Missouri.
Okay.
From a small town called Wilson City, with about, at the time I was growing up, it was about 300 people.
Okay.
You know, everybody owned homes, and you know, the core way of people making money was agriculture,
Wow.
farming.
Okay.
And I knew that when I was out in the field one day that there was something bigger and better for me than staying there.
Really?
So I ended up coming to Aurora when I graduated high school in '83.
Come a little bit closer.
So I've been here ever since, most of my adult life.
Okay.
Yeah.
1983. What was Aurora like in 1983?
You know, Aurora was a beautiful city at that time.
Okay.
Not that it's not now, but I came here at a time when, you know, there was really, you know, minor, you know, violence. You know, there was a lot of economic opportunity, you know, with Aurora, a place like Caterpillar. So, you know, you was able to find a decent job. You know, my
Right.
first job that I had was a porter. I was waxing and detailing cars.
Oh boy.
You know, it's amazing how life prepare you for things, right?
Right.
Because, you know, when I was growing up, you know, when my dad was there, you know, I was able to wash his car.
Okay.
And then from getting that experience, it actually was a segue to me getting a job washing cars.
All right.
You know, I know that my mom always used to encourage me whenever I did something, say, no matter what you do, always do your best. If your name is on it, always do the best.
Absolutely.
You know? And if you do your best, you will always have a job. You'll never be out of a job. So.
Absolutely. Yep, that's right. Good information from parents to prepare us and the younger generation for what's coming next. What is the history of the African American Men of Unity? Let's talk about that. How did it start?
Well, we started in the summer of 1999. You know, after seeing the hurt, the pain that mothers had to endure as a result of losing their sons to gang violence. And so that was kind of the genesis of why we started. In the city of Aurora, moving forward in 1999, gang violence was at an all-time high. Now, we went from 83 with limited or no violence to 1999 when violence was at an all-time high.
Right.
And so there were over 300 shootings and over 30-some-odd homicides at that time. And, of course, when we were going to meetings, you know, at the city council, neighborhood meetings, you know, everybody, the violence was the thing, you know, safety, public safety. And so most of the conversation was, you know, let's lock them up.
Right.
And myself, I'm thinking, well, these are, you know, human beings, you know. These are young men that are, you know, led astray. You know, they're misinformed. And so these are somebody's son. These are somebody's grandson, somebody's nephew. You know, these are somebody's baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe they were salvageable. And so we started what became the African American Men of Unity. In our research, we noticed that 75% of the young men who were joining gangs, who were dropping out of school and prone to engage in substance abuse, was reared in single-parent households.
Right.
And so that's why we had the concept that we can become the positive role model, mentor, and father figure for them.
Right.
Yeah, so we can, because, you know, you look at it from a spiritual perspective, you know, it says be the father to the fatherless.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that there was there was a void in these young men's lives. And, of course, if there is no father in the household, who teaches the boy how to become a man?
Right.
And so you got rap music, you got TV, you got video that start to, you know, to usher in, you know, their thoughts of what it means to be a man. And so we have a concept through the rite of passage called, you know, it go from acting to being, from acting negative to being positive.
Right.
You know, from acting immature to being mature, from acting irresponsible to being responsible, from acting, you know, like a follower to being a leader, from acting like a boy, being childish, easily misled, to being a man.
Right.
So you transition, you know, rite of passage is about the transformation.
So a question that I have is, as you mentioned, with the lack of father figures in households, with single mom households, you know, it can lead kids astray. The question I have, though, is, you know, it does take a lot for a young person to kind of, you know, if gangs are in your neighborhood and you have those bad influences, that will be what you see. But what other triggers are there that make people, you know, decide to do that? Because at the same time, we've had the educational institutions around in the city too. So I guess maybe this is a question that can't be answered in our hour of talking. But what else is it coupled with that you know, that drives people to that?
Well, we believe that, you know, a boy must see a successful man in order to be a successful man.
Right.
And if there is no dad there, they teach him about, being a good father, being a good husband, teach him about chivalry. At that moment, he's ill prepared for life. And unless he have, unless he play a sport,
Right.
Like a coach, or unless he go to church, there's deacons and pastors, that void is going to be there.
Right.
And of course, if gang members are accessible, that's what he's going to gravitate to. Boys want to belong; they want to be a part of something, and if gang members are there, that's what they're going to gravitate to, for the most part.
How tough was it to establish the African American Men in Unity?
Well, first of all, that took a lot of research, a lot of preparation. We had to study what current programs were out there, and where the shortfalls were. And what we found is that, for instance, Big Brothers Big Sisters, they mentored youth. They was 1-to-1, and they always had a shortfall as far as connection with a big with the little, and so we wanted to make sure that didn't occur with our organization. So we didn't focus on just 1-to-1 mentoring. We focused on group mentoring, and so that was one thing that we looked at. And then two, we had to look at some other things that were going on with the programming. So we researched, and we've seen that everything that the young man had the shortfall of, or to eliminate the pitfall of life, we wanted to make sure that we're there for that, and we focused on those topics, those concerns, and so we kind of built our program around it. We looked at the foundation, and then we wanted to build the program up. Even with the youth having their first job, so it went from mentoring to job readiness.
Right.
So we had to teach young men how to not only get a job, but keep a job and be promoted.
Matt Hansen is here. Good morning, Matt Hansen. And Mark Altschul. Hope I pronounced your name right, brother. Good morning to you, Mark, as well. Aisha Saxon is here. Good morning to you. The time is 8:12. What was the community response upon the establishment and getting that ball rolling?
Well, it was a sense of fear, I must admit, because, anytime you select a name like African American Men in Unity, they're like, well, what are these guys going to be on? What is going to be militant? So there was some reluctance, of course, and but we as a matter of fact, the name was selected because in our research we found that most of the young males who needed mentors and their absent fathers, there was over 24 million absent fathers, and the mass majority of them were was a lack of black men. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to put the city on notice that black men are now going to be part of the rearing of their children.
Gotcha.
So that's why that name was selected. It was not to exclude anyone. It was just to let people know that black men are now going to start being more involved in the rearing of their children.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people, if they hear, like, especially an ethnic group in the title, they may get the impression that, like, okay, only members of said ethnic group can be involved or work with or doing, and that's not necessarily the case. It's more identifying that, the problem is column A, not the whole thing.
Right. And then even to that point, we serve youth of all ethnicities. When you hear the name, you think that, they only serve black boys.
Right.
Well, no, we serve youth of all ethnicities. Last year, we served 51%, of course, African American, 42% Hispanic, and 5% Caucasian, and 2% Asian.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen you guys. I've seen the pictures and the group, the people that you guys work with. Because also what we're talking about too is violence, youth violence, and gangs, things like that. That's not limited to one community. The feeling of despair and lost and wanting to be a part of something is in everybody.
Right. Everybody want to have a sense of belonging. Even if it's negative, you want that attention.
Right.
And even in some households, when the child is doing well, they get a little attention, but when they're doing bad, they get a lot of attention.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely.
That happens all the time.
A friend of mine who's a Marine Corps veteran told me, he said, one old bleep can erase 1,000 attaboys. Yes. One bad thing can erase 1,000 good things, kind of thing.
Right. And like I say, we did a lot of research for this program. We found that if it takes two to make a baby, right? The male and the female. It's going to take two to raise that child to be healthy and productive in life as
Right.
well. And so that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do what we do, because, although that dad is not there, somebody that's positive must be there to fill that void, to keep the boy from going astray or down the wrong road, because there are a lot of pitfalls to life.
What have been the effects of the African American Men in Unity on the community?
Well, I can say this, in 2012, everything that we were doing at the grassroots level came to fruition, because we were featured in the Aurora Borealis as a solution to the gang problem, and so we were noted as an organization that strived to create peace in our community. So that's when we had zero. Now check this out. Now we had zero homicides, right? But there was still shootings taking place.
Right.
But we made sure that a lot of the young men who were prone to engage in that behavior had an impact on their lives. And
No small feat. No small feat. Well done. Well done, sir. Well done. The time is 8:16 a.m. Matthew Lorenz and Maria Chirito, good morning to all of you great people out there. It's Friday. We're speaking with Mr. Ricky Rodgers of the African American Men of Unity. Now, you said it was 1999
Yes.
when the organization was founded. On a local level, what started to take place in Aurora besides the, like the feds came in, that helped clean up the gangs too. From the legal aspect, we're talking about social in our conversation here, but what else was going on in the Aurora of that time that you noticed that's changed from then till now? And
Well, what I saw was, young men, they needed opportunity.
Okay.
They needed their confidence built up, because you think about, when a young man or a child go to school, if they show up to show out, if they be the class clown, if they showing up to, for the fashion, or the girl,
right,
and
I'm just going there to show my outfit off.
Yeah, and their favorite class is this lunch.
Right.
So you got a problem. So more than likely, you are preparing for incarceration. To be realistic, because you're not attuned to the education.
Wait a minute, Mr. Rodgers. Scratch that up, DJ. Hold on. Are you saying that there's a such thing as the school to prison pipeline, Mr. Rodgers? You're not saying, right?
Well, the thing is, that's when most young men have their first encounter with law enforcement, which is in the school system.
Right.
That's the carceral effect.
Right.
Because they want to, the system systematically, it's about being punitive as opposed to being corrective. And so for us, if the young man is showing up, he's participating in the education process, he's getting along with his peers, he's reading, he's turning his homework, he's in it to win it.
Right.
So at that moment, he's preparing for his future. He's preparing for success. He's preparing for a prosperous life.
Right.
And so that's the route that we want them to take,
right.
Especially at the crossroads. Another thing I want to mention is that, some entities, when kids turn 12, those are pivotal times, pivotal years for them, because they're at the crossroads, want to decide, well, who am I going to be?
True.
What am I going to become?
Yes.
So it's critical.
Yeah. Alicia Hahn, good morning to you. So now when it comes to the activities of the African American Men of Unity, you guys have had some major successes and with events in the city. You guys were integral in the Juneteenth event of this summer.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Well, we started Juneteenth way back in 1999. When we started Entity as an organization, we also realized the significance and importance of having culture, having a cultural connection, especially with black males in particular. And so we started what we call, what before it became popular was our Juneteenth celebration. And I know in 2020, of course, Biden decided to make it a federal holiday, and Pritzker made it a state holiday. But even before then, we knew how important it was.
Right. Let me actually
celebrate Juneteenth.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let me actually clarify for the record too. You guys had been doing it. I just went to the one that was this year, but I knew it was going on. You're right. Yeah.
So we didn't wait to be told that it's okay to do Juneteenth. We knew it was important to us as a people, as a nation, because it's important for us to have those cultural connections. Because when you have cultural connections, that bring people together.
Right.
You see the commonality. And then, of course, we're bringing people in from all sides of town.
Right.
From collar counties.
What?
So
Oh,
just to say that in the 20 plus years that we've done Juneteenth, we have never had an incident of violence.
Yep.
We've always had security there, but people they can self-regulate when they choose to.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Absolutely, because that is key, and I think that's one of the things that I've been an advocate for in our community. You go to certain places, you go to certain clubs. They don't need armed security. You get patted down. They don't need to do that, and we can, and it's all about professionalism and presenting yourself with that healthy disposition.
That's right. Knowing the time, knowing the place, and conducting yourself accordingly.
Right.
And if we set the high standards, our people will meet that high standards. When you, devalue someone or you think less of them, you think, they're prone to violence, they're going to conduct themselves in that way.
Right.
But if you set the standard high enough, people will meet that.
What does the word unity mean to you?
Unity means, coming together for a common cause. That's what it means. It don't mean that you have to agree with everything that takes place, but you have to, see how you can work together towards a common cause. And for us, the common cause was, to be a help to young men who were reared in single-parent households. And although in the community there may have been, gangs there, if they wanted a way out, we could be that beacon of hope, that beacon of light for them.
You grew up in a single parent household. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What was that experience like?
Well, it was a void. My dad, of course, he wasn't there all the time. He was pretty much in and out. And then there went a stage where he wasn't there at all. And of course, when you get used to, that strength of being there, dads are a pillar of strength. They're our heroes. And when they're not present, there's a void.
Right.
And that's why a lot of men, a lot of young boys in particular, join gangs just because of that protective factor.
Right.
Or if they're being bullied or, so they want to have that sense of protection, somebody to be there for them, somebody to walk with, somebody to talk with, somebody to confide in. And so that's kind of like the genesis of why a lot of young males, it's not that they want to be violent, but it's a matter of them getting that assurance or that validation from people who encourage them to be violent.
I've heard it said amongst other, discussions and things like that, in the African American community, one of the things that we suffer from is that we have a lack of opportunities. I'm a little on the fence because I'm a person who believes that we and all humans can create their own opportunity. Maybe that's just because I'm a bleeding heart optimist, but I'd like to know your opinion on it because I do see the pitfalls and the traps, but I have a little bit of a different view. So I'd like to know what you think about that.
Well, whenever passion and purpose meet opportunity, it's a beautiful thing. And I guess the idea is, when we integrated, of course there was a lot of black businesses at that time.
In Aurora?
In Aurora.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact,
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah.
The whole New York Street, one time was all black businesses.
Wow.
Yeah, and so as a result of people getting older and young males, of course, decided to take a different approach than their dad, and sometimes they went down another road, and so those businesses were bought out.
Right.
And so opportunity presents itself all the time. We must see challenges as opportunity.
Right.
But a lot of times people throw in the towel, give up, give in, and quit.
Yes, they do.
And so we got to build resiliency, because opportunities are always there.
How do we build the resiliency, though? How do we? No, finish that. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and just look at for us, for instance, African American Men of Unity. Prior to the pandemic, we were just, we were out there, we were existing. We was barely staying afloat. But once the pandemic hit, that actually catapulted us to a whole nother level because there was a crisis and attention was brought to, the black community because we were prone to have COVID. We were prone to the social determinants of health. You know,
Right.
we were prone to not having the care that we need.
Right.
So it brought attention to all that, all the things that, all the deficiencies that we had.
Absolutely.
And so, and they were like, well, they needed a black organization to actually reach the people at the grassroots level.
Right.
And so we were one of the front runners, you know, even during, you know, the 2020 census, you know, because they call it the hard to count population. So they wanted an entity that was at the grassroots level that connected to the people to get them to fill out the census.
How do we get people to fill out the census? I'm glad you brought this. I didn't know we were going to go there. But since we're here, and this is important, this is extremely important because our community, along with the Latino community, we just, you know, we're not filling out the census. We're not at it. How do we bring that awareness to people and let them see the importance of it and reverse that trend?
Well, I think it's a matter of, you know, for us to be at the grocery store, that's where people shop. You know, shopping is intimate for our people. They love to shop.
Absolutely.
You know, we need food. So that's the nourishment to the body, to the soul.
I'll be there today.
Yes. And so so when people see us at the grocery store, you know, they were, and we had the census, it's just like we just want to be acknowledged. You know, because you think about people, they're like, well, they think of us, I don't want to say as insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
But then they realize that there is a purpose for this. You know, money comes to a city because of filling out the census.
Absolutely.
And you know that funds programs like ours. You know, so when they understand those connections, they feel more compelled to be a part of something that's going to make an impact in our communities.
Right.
You know, even with the HUD dollars.
Yep. So you guys were out there because it's not campaign, like out there canvassing basically.
Yeah, canvassing.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Going to communities, going to grocery stores, going to events. You know, this letting people know that it's important to be a part of the census.
For a guy who grew up in a town of 300 people, what's it like being in a big city now and doing that kind of work?
It's unbelievable. You know,
long way from the
a long way from the bean field. You know, that's humble beginnings. You know, chopping beans, going down those long rows. It's definitely a big change for me as an individual, as a person. But I feel as though now I'm fulfilling my divine purpose. You know, everybody, you know, when you're born into this world, you pretty much have no idea what you want to be or become, because everything that you do, you're dependent upon somebody else to teach you, to give you. But at some point in time, the light has to come on. You got to have that aha moment. And I had that aha moment back in 1999. And when, you know, it was a problem in our community and we wanted to be part of the solution. And so that was kind of the genesis of why we created what became known as the African American Community Unity. And, you know, the most beautiful thing about our organization is that over the 23 plus years we've been in existence, we have never turned one kid away. You know, we've always made time available. We've always made services available because we knew how important it was.
Right.
You know, irregardless of their socio-emotional challenges, irregardless of their academic deficiencies, irregardless of you know, whatever they were going, irregardless of the traumas or disabilities or gender choice. You know, we've always been there to provide those critical services along the line of resiliency.
Right.
Because it's all about resiliency, to be able to bounce back from difficult times. And that was a psychologist named Eric Erickson. He said that, and he had what they call a psychosocial theory. And within that theory, he said that, you know, we're going to have social-emotional challenges in life, and our ability to overcome, to get through those, it's going to determine how resilient we are.
Yep.
Or either you're going to fall trapped to it, fall victim to it, or you're going to pull yourself out of it and get through it.
Right.
And so what we want to do is, you know, strengthen young men in their inner strength so that they can overcome, so they can prevail, so they can succeed no matter what. Irregardless of the circumstance, irregardless of the challenges, irregardless of the trauma, you can pull through.
That's right. That's right. There's a Gabriel, take me to a personal commercial. They made a song about it. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. Okay.
All right.
I know you guys aren't watching the show for me singing, so. Pumpkin Sims, good morning. I got a quick piece of information here. What does that sound? What was that?
Sorry, I think that was my water bottle.
Okay. Watch the water bottle, bro, because these mics are so good you can pick up all that Ting-a-ling-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling. I got a quick piece of information to deliver to you wonderful, great, awesome, super stupendous people before we get back to our conversation with Mr. Ricky Rodgers of the African American Men in Unity. Join us on December 22nd, which is a Thursday, from 6 to 7 p.m. for a great Facebook Live with Kane County State's Attorney Jamie Mosser. She will be reviewing her first 2 years in office and previewing the next 2 years. Your friendly neighborhood radio host will be moderating this great discussion. I hope that you guys all tune in. It'll be live on our Facebook page, and it's going to be something really good to see and hear. And then the last thing I've got for you guys is Pre-Trial Fairness Act Community Court Watching. Throughout January 2023, we'll be watching pretrial hearings across the state to monitor the implementation of the Pre-Trial Fairness Act, which ends money bond at the start of the new year. Participants will receive training on how to record observations from these pretrial hearings. So the dates for our comrades in Cook County, December 12th, DuPage County and Kane, we are December 15th. McLean County is December 14th. The time is 8:30 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Gabriel, if you'd be so kind, young man, I would like you to mute myself and Ricky and take us to a commercial.
Thursday, December 22nd from 6 to 7 p.m. Good Morning Aurora will host a special broadcast with our partners of King County government and law enforcement. Sorry. Scratch that. Just repeating the news. Sorry if you already heard that twice. Hey, it's a live show. We gotta scratch it up. Sunday, December 11th from noon to 3 p.m. will be a great event and complimentary photos with Santa. This is hosted by Talented 10th Social Services and Brianna Lynn Photography, and is a free event that is open to the public. There's a QR code that we'll be posting with the flyer. On Thursday, December 15th, from 6 to 10 p.m., the King County Democratic Woman will be holding a great holiday party at Enticing Cuisine, located at 1117 North Washington Avenue in Batavia. Great food and fellowship just in time for the holidays. The Neighbor Project and Everlasting Word Church have teamed up for a senior clothing drive going on now until the end of the year. New or gently used items are very much appreciated. See the flyer for more specifics or call 630-906-1392. Again, that number is 630-906-1392. With any questions, both locations of 32 South Broadway Avenue and 22 North Island Avenue can receive items. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, yeah. 8:32 is the time. It's Friday, ladies and gentlemen. We're here with our dear friend of the show, Ricky Rodgers of the African American Men of Unity. Okay.
Yes.
So, at the moment, what's on the agenda for the rest of the year for the African American Men of Unity, and how do we look going into 2023?
Well, we decided this year not to do our annual Kwanzaa celebration. Of course, it was created in 1966 by Dr. Malena Karinga. Centered around 7 principles, and so this year we're going to put out a press release to teach people how to celebrate Kwanzaa in the home, because I know typically they come to us to celebrate, and so but you can actually practice the principles, light the candles, all that stuff in your home, and I know it's good for us to set fellowship, but so we're going to do a mental reset, because in the past, while everybody else is taking off for the holidays, we're prepping and preparing for Kwanzaa,
right,
which is a major celebration. It takes a lot of time and energy. And so COVID made us realize that we need to spend time with family as well.
Right.
And so we're going to take a mental reset this year. And but we will resume next year for our Kwanzaa celebration.
Okay.
And then, we have a contract with DCFS, and it's called Intact Services. So in the past, when people heard the name DCFS, they would cringe, but they're taking a more softer approach, a more human approach, because they do know that parents, they do have trials, tribulation, they do have shortfalls from time to time, and so what service that we're going to provide is to keep the kids in the home and keep the families attached,
right?
Because and if a parent is when whatever threat is in the home, we want to remove that threat.
Right.
And so if a parent is having issues with paying the light bill, negligence in any regard, we give them money, or we pay the light bill.
Right.
You know, if there's food that need to be in the home, you know, we provide them with the food.
Absolutely.
So whatever inconsistencies they have, we take care of that. So.
Absolutely. Nobody should have to be in danger of losing their home or their livelihood or having their family by a bill or a lack of ability to pay bills. I mean, it's
Right.
I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's the greater good that we're talking about here.
True that. And we all go to economic crisis.
Right.
And most of us, according to statistics, most of us live from check to check.
Right.
So a loss of job, or, you know, some breakdown with your car, you know, it's going to set you back for a minute.
Right.
And then so happen if DCF get involved, you know, you can have the potential to lose your child as because of an economic crisis. So we've actually happened to remove that problem.
What are the challenges that you see for the organization going forward? And by challenges, I don't mean any, things that'll sink the ship. But I mean, what are some of the, light challenges, perhaps obstacles? What kind of things are you working towards, or working against, rather?
Well, you know, post-COVID, you know, we were in, school districts 129, 131, 308, 204. And so it's just a matter of us at this moment to get back into those schools. And, we had a very effective program with a rite of passage. A lot of the coordinators that were in the program, and they seen the results. They seen the impact that the program was having on those kids. They want us back. But, of course, the administrators, a lot of administration have changed since then.
Right.
So now we're having to reinvent ourselves, so to speak, or to get them to know who we are and what we do and
Right.
how effective it was, how our program was on the kids. And when you think about, a young boy, look at it from the standpoint that, and you think about the home front, right? The mother is there in the home with the kids. The girl from birth, she is given a doll. She's taught about womanhood. She's taught about, how to be a homemaker. She's taught about these things because the mother is there to embrace those things, to teach those things, to explain those things, for her to be to emulate, right? But the boy, what does he have? His first toy is usually a action figure. It's usually a big wheel, something along that line. So the boys typically are behind girls. We always talk about girls are a lot more mature than boys. And so a lot of it has to do with, at the own start, girls are given things to nurture womanhood and being independent, being strong. But boys, on the other hand, are taught more about being dependent, And if you tell a boy when he has no responsibilities, right, that he's the man of the house, what are you setting him up for? He's not emptying the garbage. He's not doing chores. He's playing video games. But you're telling him that he's the man of the house. So in essence, he's saying that his mother is providing him with everything. Food, shelter, love, all those things. And so he don't see a man providing those things. So guess what he's going to try to do? He's going to try to find a woman that can be like a mother to him, right? And start to give him all these things without earning, without working. And so if he can stay at home and play the video game, and the woman can, be the breadwinner, we have men doing it now. But that's been a transition.
Right. Alvin Soto, good morning to you. Cindy Morales, good morning. Anna Tredre, good morning to you as well. Get to know Norma Peterson's here. Good morning, Norma Peterson. Get to know Spots on the Fox. Our dear friends with Spots on the Fox are the premier online ordering websites in, dare I say, the entire world. I'm gonna give y'all that. We're the best morning show in the entire world, but that's just me.
All right.
Right. We got to claim that.
Yes.
You know.
It.
So at the moment, it's 2022. We're going to 2023. We've seen here in Aurora a dramatic shift in. There's less crime. There's less shootings. There's less violence. Are you optimistic about the future of Aurora?
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, it's funny how you would say that because we were just the recipient of a grant called Reimagine Youth Development, which is an after-school program.
Okay.
This is a watershed moment for us. For the first time in history, there is money being, put down the pipe for us to actually provide services related to gang violence. So if youth can be of harm either to someone else or at risk of being harmed by someone, that we're able to go in and teach them de-escalation techniques. We're able to go and provide them with conflict resolution, so that they won't engage in violence. So we'll mitigate that violence. So yes, it's a beautiful thing for us right now.
Okay,
Everything is going super good.
Congratulations.
And so I want to just say, hats off to Governor Pritzker, for the first time in history to put money into our communities for the solution to our problems. So hats off to that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. A question that I was going to ask towards the end of the show, but I do want to ask it now because it's just burning the heck out of my brain. I tell you, I was born before social media. Show my age here a little bit. Is social media helping or is it hindering our communities?
Well,
and I say our communities.
Well, you have what they call is Facebook gangsters. Facebook has given people who wouldn't have the courage to say things in people's face the platform by which to spew out venom and harm and hate on other people.
Right.
And so social media has been being used now as a divisive platform by which to troll. But, of course, African American Community Unity, on the flip side, we use social media to promote our product,
right?
To promote our service. So you can use it for whatever purpose you choose to. But it can be good if there's pros to it and there's cons to it. It all depends on what's in your heart, how you feel, what your purpose is, and what are you trying to put out? What are you trying to succeed at? Are you trying to succeed at uplifting people? Or are you trying to succeed at tearing people down? So I think moving forward, being that a lot of people are going through trial, tribulation, things related to mental health, social media has spewed over to the school system. Kids want to fight because of what somebody said.
Bullying and all that.
And we have to stop allowing people to take residence,
Oh, brother, is that your phone? No, leave it on.
Phone.
You didn't. Oh, Mr. Rodgers, you didn't have your phone off?
Typically at this time of day, most of the time it don't ring.
No, it's all
be
good.
One of those
it's
times.
all good, right? It's probably you probably got friends like I do. They don't call me at all until I'm on live when I can't answer the phone. Yo, I'm looking at you.
Yeah,
well, thanks. Yeah, keep watching. Guess who's here? Natalie is here. She says, Brother Ricky, get to know Talented 10 Social Services. Natalie is a dear friend of ours. Talented 10 Social Services is a fantastic organization doing great work in the community. And they are actually in my news, but I can't pull up your flyer now because they have pictures with Santa. Is it, Natalie, that y'all got? I got the flyer for you guys in English and Spanish. It's in there, isn't it? Is it in there?
Yes, it is.
You know what, Gabriel? Here's what we're going to do because we love scratch it up. Take us to a commercial with that one piece. You got it?
I know it. I know I saw it somewhere.
Oh, Lord. Well, it's all right if you ain't got
there
it.
we go.
Okay.
There we go. Got it.
Oh, your phone buffering.
Yep.
That's what it's doing. He still got an Android joint.
Sunday, December 11th from noon to 3 p.m. will be a great event. Complimentary photos with Santa. This is hosted by Talented 10th Social Services and Brianna Lynn Photography, and is a free event that is open to the public, and we'll be posting the flyer soon.
That's right. That's what it is. It's with Brianna Lynn Photography. She's a great local photographer, great young lady. I met her at Java Plus. She saved my life one day. I'll tell you how the first day I met her, she saved my life. I had the news camera, had it all set up. You can bring us back on. I had the news camera, had it all set up, but I didn't have the second most important thing besides a battery, a SIM card. I had the whole shebang with no way to record. And she saw me. She was like, is something wrong with you? I said, yeah, I'm losing my mind. And she said, what you need? I said, besides another brain, a SIM card. And she reached in her pocket, pulled out a SIM card for a brother. Saved the day.
Yes.
Shout out to Brandon Lynn Photography. No Santa, just community. All right. That's awesome. Okay. Josue Pais, good morning to you. And Joel Roman, good morning to you as well. So it's 8:44. What's your weekend looking like? And what do you got planned for You going anywhere for the holidays or end of the year?
Well, like I say, I'm gonna do a reset. It's all about our own mental health, because oftentimes in life we're giving so much to other people, we're pouring into so many people, and so sometimes you have to take a step back and kind of rejuvenate, regenerate our bodies, our minds, our spirit, so that we can continue to be of assistance to other people. And so so I'm gonna take it easy. I may take a trip to visit my wife's parents that may that live in Mississippi, so that may be something that we do. My mother's currently in Vegas, so I can't go to Missouri. So, so she's where it's warm. She said, like, I'm getting out of Missouri because it's cold. Of course, it's colder in Illinois, but so she's in Vegas where it's nice and warm.
What does America mean to you?
America, for me, it should mean, as a humanitarian, to do what you can to help and assist other people, lending a helping hand. Encourage somebody when they're in need, being a father to the fatherless, feeding the hungry. That's what, for me, being American and living in America. Now, I know W.E. Du Bois said that, from a standpoint of black people, that there is a two-ness. We have to be American and we have to be black to have a sense of our culture, history, and heritage, as well as being able to fit into the fabric of American society.
Right. Interesting perspective. So I'll say this. I feel like this episode was a long time coming, and I remember when we started, when we first did our first interview in here, our satellite location. I walked past your office and saw the sign out there. I was like, oh, wow, check it out. African-American men, they're here? They're here? I was like, okay, I'm going to, see. And then I think I was in the building 48 hours and saw you.
Yes.
And ran into you. And you plug away in your office up there. You are plugging away, and you got a good team.
Yes, we do. We have an excellent team of people, professionals that understand, the community need. They're indigenous to the community that they're from. They genuinely want to see people excel and succeed in life. And I appreciate the people that's part of my team: Randy Ryder, Derek Hicks, Laura Lopez. Even with our staff is diverse. Mm-hmm. You look at the name African American Men of Unity, it's like, well, should they all be black? No. Our board is diverse. Our staff is diverse, and the kids that we serve are diverse. So
that's another thing. Like I said, that's what I like about you guys. I really do. That's what I like about you, because a lot of groups, unfortunately, a lot of organizations aren't doing that. They are not doing that. They want to only cater with or work with members of said community, and that's their prerogative.
Right.
But I'm not the person to turn away people who can contribute. I mean, hey, if you can help the mission and you're down for the mission, I think you should be included.
Oh yeah. If they can filter into the mission, goals, and objective of the organization, we would love to have you on board as a volunteer or as a staff member. We'll find a place to plug you. Believe that.
Now, you guys are working with Aurora Township?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we do partner with Township. We've been, as a matter of fact, that's where the hub was initially when we started the African American Men of Unity. The Township was gracious enough under Jim Murphy to allow us to utilize their facility.
Nice.
To create what we became, the African American Men of Unity, and have the program called the Rite of Passage. So we appreciate Township for that. And right now we have the Skills and Drills basketball program that we do in conjunction with Township for youth ages 7 to 17.
Okay.
And the amazing part about that is that, a lot of times in life, people tell you what you can't do.
Right.
But, the hateration becomes your motivation.
Oh, see? I'm glad you said that on air, bruh. I'm glad you said that, my man.
And, when we started in the park, on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. with the Skills and Drills basketball program. We called it at that time Project Safe Summer Basketball Program. And because we wanted the kids to have a sense of, supervision, have a sense of purpose. And so, mind you, this is 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's hot.
Right. As
all get up on a Saturday morning. Guess what? We had like 70, 80 kids in the park on a Saturday morning. People say they're not going to get up out the bed. They're not going to come out there in that hot sun. I beg to differ.
Right.
And those kids showed up religiously on a regular, ongoing basis. And township, one of the board members came through and said that we need to bring this program inside, so we want to partner with you all. And so that why we moved that program to the township.
What's the days and times for it?
Oh, it's right now it's Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. every Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. at the township, 313 Gale Street. So see you there, or like we say in the old day, be square.
I like that. A lot of wisdom, Okay, let me see here. Mark Malali is here. Good morning to you. Anna says, I love seeing all the diversity. Amen to being open to everyone. Josue Pais, what is happening? Joe Jackson is here. Joe Jackson is our dear friend of Hesed House. Good to see you, sir. The time is 8:50. So, because you're a man who knows what's going on, you've got your finger on the pulse just like we do. As we've noted, the city has done a whole lot with development and continues to do a whole lot with development, economic development, what have you. In your opinion, how is the social services helping the youth and other communities? Is that on par? Do you see more in one cup, more in one basket as opposed to the other? How are things in your view and estimation? I personally believe that as much as humanly possible, the level of care for folks should rise along with. That's not always the case. We live in reality here, but
Right.
But what's your estimation of it? How does it look to you?
Well, I think overall, the city has the pulse of the community and the best interest of the community in mind. They do pop-up food events, whereas they're serving, feeding, thousands of people in the community. They are supportive of the African American Community Unity with our Rite of Passage program, so we can provide the mentorship. We also partner with the city of Aurora with our job program, and so mind you that youth ages 14 to 25 we work with to the job program, and we provide kids as young as 14 their first job opportunity. And so you can't just wait till a young man turn, 18, 19, say, here, go to work.
Right.
You have to give them employability skills, teach them job readiness to help prepare. In order to succeed in life, you must be properly prepared.
Right.
And so our idea is to prepare them for their future, prepare them for success, prepare them to be employable. Because we all want to wear all this nice gear. We want to look fresh. We want to look fly, right? But we have to know that, it takes money to get those things, and to work, is a vehicle by which we can pursue, economic wealth and be empowered.
Right. Mentorship. You've used that word a couple times in our conversation here. Who was your mentor? Who's mentored Mr. Rodgers?
Well, let's see. Dr. Peggy Hicks, he's one of my mentors. Dr. Nehemiah Russell, he's one of my mentors. Dr. Gaddis.
Vincent Gaddis.
Yes.
Good man.
Yes.
Good man.
So I keep myself in the company of people, who can inspire me. And I think that's very important because, when you know better, you can do better. You change the way you think, you change the way you act. So you know a person by the company that he keeps.
Right.
So.
Right. One of the things that I think, in addition to all that we're talking about, A, the soft skills, but B, that's another thing that people, especially young men, but predominantly, especially young men of color, you got to watch the company you keep.
Right.
Change your locale, change your locations. Look to how it, that will stand young people so far, in good stead for years to come down the line. The last question I got for you is, how can we help you? How can we, Good Morning Aurora, but also the community help you?
Well, hopefully that the community can see the value in the service that we provide, and of course make donations towards the organization because, we have a cause that you want to see excel and succeed. You see the work that we're doing in the community. We serve youth of all ethnicities. We want the best for our communities. And we're also working towards this museum project. So we want to bring a museum, an African heritage museum to the city of Aurora, to tell our story. And I think that's important, for people to hear it from our perspective. It's one thing to hear it from someone else, but to hear it from you, your story instead of, our story instead of his story. it's very important, I think. And so those are kind of how you can help us. If you want a mentor, you can hit me up. If a mother is out there and they need our support, we want to help them rear their sons to be successful. Most of the time when mothers enroll their sons in our program, they say that this boy done lost his mind. So I need
in a good way.
So before I take him out, you need to come rescue him. So
right.
No pun, DCFS don't jump on the mother.
Sure.
He's saying it, facetiously.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. No, I completely understand.
So so that's how you can be of help and assist the African American community unity.
Okay. Dan Barrero is here. Good morning to you, Dan. He says, keep up the good work, Ricky.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep. Well, it's 8:55 a.m. This was a fantastic discussion. I'm going to, Gabriel, do me a favor, take me to one more quick commercial because there's an important piece of news that I need to give to these great people before we end the show. If you don't have plans for New Year's Eve, the hottest party since Prince was in Australia will be happening at 24 North Broadway. That's Tavern on Broadway. Good Morning Aurora will be having and hosting our New Year's Eve party with special musical guest, The Hangovers. Yes, that's right. You heard it here. The Hangovers will be there live and in person playing. Everything starts around 6 o'clock p.m. Champagne toast is at midnight. So you got the news now, very early. If you can make it out, please, we would love to see you. Monica will not be there. She will be in North Carolina with family, and the rest of our staff is not able to even take part in underage staff. We got young people doing everything. This is we're building a new generation to do great stuff.
That's a beautiful thing.
Okay, you can bring me back on. The time is 8:56 a.m. The show ends on a positive note. What is your message today to the people of Aurora and the listeners and watchers?
To say the only limitations are the ones that we have that we place on ourselves. Nothing can keep you from being or doing what you see your future. We have to strive towards our goals. We have to strive towards the things that are important to us. Life is short. We have a short lifespan, and so I think it's for us to everybody should find their divine purpose, and then put all your energy into it. No matter the task, whether big or small. Do your best. Always give your all, and I think. Our society would be a better place to live, instead of trolling. That's uplift people instead of turn people down. That stops shaming people. That's the game, for now. For moving forward in the 21st century, we need to, instead of shaming, we need to uplift, and that's the game that we need to be on now.
That's absolutely wonderful. I appreciate that, sir. Well said. The time's 8:57. When we go out today, play Cruz Ocho out. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you guys enjoyed this great discussion with our friend Ricky Rodgers of the African American Men in Unity. We for sure did. If we can do anything else to help you, as I mentioned, if I can volunteer with you or anything like that, please let me know. How can folks find you guys on social media? Where are you guys at?
Well, we're at our website is aamou.org. So go there. You can make a donation. You can find out more about our programs and services. You can sign your kids up. Schools can go there and make referrals. We get referrals from everybody. Churches, schools, communities, organizations. So they see the wealth of experience that we have, and they see the impact that we have once we get involved in those kids' lives. My number is, this is public, 630-606-1910. So you can hit me up and let me know what's going on and how I can be of assistance, and if you want to be a part of our team. So,
all right, wonderful stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you guys have a blessed, positive, uplifting. Good morning, Ruth, and beautiful day. You know what? I'm gonna just leave it at that. Take care of yourself and each other.
Let's begin with a drum set. Listen for an explosive live sound. The snare should be crisp and the cymbals should ring.
I admire you when my living has a limit of desire to keep it going. I'm just knowing that my time with you makes a difference. I'm feeling when I vibe with you. They can't divide us two. We got a bond like 007, right? Even on Devil's Night, you show me what the heaven's like. Go ahead and spread your light, though I can barely see. I know you're there with me, my personal therapy. Some days I wish I was more like you. Your certainty, your attitude. Keep doing what you're doing, I ain't mad at you. I'm just wishing that I had that too. Some days I wish I was more like you. Your certainty, your attitude. Keep doing what you're doing, I ain't mad at you. Just to know you, I'm glad I do. I want you to view yourself the way you see me. When you're feeling alone, I'll be a sanctuary. Yeah, I want you to view yourself the way you see me. When you're feeling alone, I'll be a sanctuary. You inspire me. Look at you crazy when you tell me you admire me. Not an example for anybody to try to be. We'll call you bluff, but I know you wouldn't lie to me. Just a surprise to me. We got a bond tight. No one can come between. I have respect for you. You have your love for me. And that's enough for me. All I need to get by. Let me be the method to your Mary J. Blige. So many times I felt defeated. You always know the right thing to say for when I need it. I wanna do the same thing for you to keep it even. You can call me anytime. You don't ever need a reason. I'm right here with you. Never could forget you. All the things that we've been through, everything we went through. Hey, none of it was simple, but I'm right here with you. Some days I wish I was more like you. Your certainty, your attitude. Keep doing what you're doing, I ain't mad at you. I'm just wishing that I had that too. Some days I wish I was more like you. Your certainty,